1.
Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kainan Becker, and today we're doing a little bit of a VHS Haul show and tell. So there's this little store a little ways away from where I live in a city called Folsom, and it's called The Cave. And this shop is just amazing. It's this little store that's ran by a friend of mine named Erie. It has everything from CDs to DVDs to Blu-ray. It has collectibles, comic books, clothing. I mean, just every kind of cool thing that you could possibly want. So if you live in the Sacramento area like I do, and you've never checked out The Cave, I highly recommend going and checking it out. But I just picked up a bunch of VHS tapes from there, and everything's really affordable there as well. And they were just a few bucks a piece for these really cool VHS copies that are in really good shape. So I was really stoked about it. I figured I'd show you guys what I picked up, talk a little bit about each one, and move forward. So with that, let's get rolling. So the first one I want to talk about is this copy of King Kong. And look at this. So rad. It doesn't work anymore, but at one time, this VHS copy, you would have pushed on his little chest and he would have growled. Like, how cool is that? I don't know if it's possible to fix that or not, but that's just such a cool little collectible thing. I just loved it. And I mean, I love the movie as well. So it was one that I didn't own on VHS and I had to pick it up. So all these movies I might own on DVD or Blu-ray, but I don't own on VHS prior to this. But they're all movies I have seen. Alright, so next up is a movie called Dark City. And this is one of my favorite movies, especially for dark sci-fi / horror. And if you've never seen this, I highly recommend it. I actually did a review on this channel, but it's just this really dark, mysterious, it's like neo-noir meets sci-fi with a little bit of horror tinges here and there, and it's just a really, really cool movie. Alright, next up, this movie was it's in the original Halloween because it is one of John Carpenter's favorite movies, and he ended up remaking it a number of years after the original Halloween, and it's called The Thing. And this one is actually called The Thing from Another World, technically, but everybody just calls it The Thing. But it's just so good, and if you've never seen this, and you've only seen The Thing, the one that you know of with John Carpenter directing, I definitely recommend going back and watching this. It's very different. It's a totally different kind of story, and John Carpenter took it in a totally different direction with his version. Much more about isolation and distrust and all that. This one's a little different, and it actually has this, I don't know, this alien kind of guy more than any kind of monsters. But I don't know, it's just a great classic sci-fi black and white movie that I just highly recommend. And this one right here is probably my favorite of all the sci-fi movies, or at least definitely one of them in my top 5, and that's Forbidden Planet. This movie is so good. And you can even see right behind me, right there, is my robot, my Robbie the Robot. So that just shows you how much I love this movie. It's just such a cool movie. It's beautiful. I mean, it's early color and just the sci-fi elements, the whole planet, the way they created it, and all these different ideas in it have been taken and used over and over and over in so many different sci-fi movies. It's just such a fun movie. Alright, and then next up are back-to-back Halloween movies. They're not both necessarily my favorite Halloween movies, but I don't own them, and I like the idea of owning all of the Halloween movies eventually on VHS. At least the ones that are available on VHS. Of course, the newest one is probably never going to be on VHS, but at least all the older ones I can definitely have. So first, H2O, which is one of my favorite of the Halloween movies. It's probably my 4th favorite Halloween movie behind 2018 and Halloween 2. And of course, the original. It's either way, I just think it's such a good movie, and I have a lot of fun with it. Very nostalgic for me. I saw it in theaters, and I just love this movie. Next up, one of my least favorite Halloween movies, but I feel like it still has its charm, and it definitely makes me laugh. There's definitely some fun in this movie, and I don't think it's quite as bad as a lot of people make it to be, because I feel like there's still some cool Michael Myers elements in it, and there's still some fun in it. So I mean, that's what horror's about in my opinion, to me. Remember, horror can be fun. I mean, that's my thing. Next up is another one that is totally about fun horror. It's dumb, it's hokey. I know it's probably even kind of a guilty pleasure, maybe even a little, but I love this movie, and that's Phantoms. It's got a cast of a lot of people from that Scream era. I mean, two of them that were actually in Scream. And it's got a really young Ben Affleck. It's just kind of that old sci-fi, science fiction horror. It reminds me a lot of like the old campy kind of stuff, but with a bigger budget and taken a little more serious. But I don't know, it's just cool. And there's something really creepy about it. The whole city, everybody just being gone, and they go into this little town and it's like completely empty. And there's just something creepy about it. And then the whole monster. I don't know, man. The more I think about it, this is just a cool movie. I don't think it has to be a guilty pleasure, to be honest. I just think it's fun. It's definitely sci-fi horror. It's not straight horror, but it definitely has a lot of horror moments. But yeah, another one I definitely recommend if you haven't seen. Next one. This one is different. It's interesting. But I love John Carpenter, and I plan to own all of John Carpenter's movies eventually on VHS. I already own quite a few of them. But this movie is not necessarily one of his best, but there's a lot of coolness to this. It's a lot more of a darker, gritty vampire type of movie than a lot of other ones you might see. And I don't know. I've always had fun with this movie. I'm actually planning on rewatching it here in a few minutes. And who knows, maybe even doing a review on this eventually at some point. But it's just, I don't know. This one is just, it's different, but I also think it's just a good one. All right. 2 more to go. Next up, one of my all-time favorite horror movies, especially when you're talking about classics. There's just so much elegance about Vincent Price in this movie. And it's just, I mean, I love Vincent Price. Some of my favorites ever are Vincent Price movies. But this one is one of the cream of the crop that not as many people talk about. Like, you hear a lot of people talking about Last Man on Earth and House on Haunted Hill, but not as many talk about this. But it has just some really chilling, really creepy moments. And I still believe this is the best version of House of Wax. I know a lot of you younger people love the newer early 2000s House of Wax, and I think it's cool. It's all right. It's not a horrible movie. It definitely has some chilling moments. And being a fan of Supernatural, Sam's character, or Sam, the actor that plays Sam, being in it, I think it's fun. But yeah, personally, I think this is better. This is just a really, really well done classic, just creepy as hell, old horror movie. And then last but not least, this is argued by some people for good reasons, and there's definitely issues with the creepiness of the director who did this. I get all that, but I still love this movie. I think it's just a fantastic horror movie. I'm not a huge fan of the sequels, but this one I am a huge fan of, and that is Jeepers Creepers. To me, it is one of the creepiest movies. It is definitely one of the best horror movies of the 2000s, in my opinion. I'm not trying to say I like at all the issues involved with the director. And if you don't know, it's easy to find out. There's been lots and lots of stories and lots of people talking about this. But to me, I like to separate the art from the artist. Because if you connect the art and the artist, you'd have to throw away a lot of the greatest art that's ever been made. And it's sad, but it is part of reality. So to me, I like to just enjoy the art for what it is and definitely condemn him for what he's done. But I'm not trying to really get into that. I'm just saying, like, for me, I like to enjoy this art and not involve the horribleness that he is. And that's why I'm not even mentioning his name. All right, guys. So that's my VHS haul. I hope you guys enjoyed checking this out, coming along with me on this little VHS ride. But that's going to do it for today. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and ding the little bell, because that's the only way to keep up with me and see when I post videos like this, which I do at least twice every week. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. But remember, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.